It seemed as though the entire Packers team had renewed focus when they took the field in Houston, which is good because it's already time to get ready for the Vikings, who are coming to Lambeau. And we're talking about it coming up on your Packers Fan Podcast.
I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider, and I promise I won't miss another game this season. What a rebound week this was for the Pack. It was so much fun to watch the green and gold at work this week, and the future is looking very bright indeed.
And we're glad to have you listening in for this 212th episode. I'm Wayne Henderson from MediaVoiceovers.com, and I'm glad to have you back with us again this week, Scott. Thanks to Troy for filling in last week.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. I apologize I had to miss. I did, however, witness the game. The kickoff. I watched the first opening drive. I was wearing my Packers gear, sitting on the plane, watching it on my phone, waiting for takeoff. So it's not my fault, people. It's not my fault.
I did pass along that knowledge to the listeners last week. You were missed. It was a shocker for some of the listeners. Are like, wait, what? But yeah. Everything's okay now. Things are settled in and what have you.
Yes, my stepdad is living with me. He's actually upstairs eating tacos right now, so he's settled in, and we're enjoying having him here.
Excellent. Have him put an extra dollop of sour cream on those bad boys.
Yeah, he does not like sour cream. That's a whole other story.
Well, on this episode of the Packers Fan Podcast, we're going to have our favorite things from the Packers' win over the Texans, and, as is customary, your brilliant listener feedback will be shared.
And also, we will preview next Sunday's Vikings at Green Bay game. I'll have my keys to a Packers victory, and also our crazy predictions for the final score. By the way, Troy was almost exactly perfect this week. I was a little jealous of how close he was.
Oh, and by the way, Scott, he sent me a message this afternoon to remind me of that fact.
Yeah, I'll bet you he did. That sounds exactly like Troy. So let's go ahead and jump into the highlights from the Packers' victory over the Texans. First off, plenty of touchdown passes to go around, and this is one of my favorite things to see in this game, is that everybody was getting a chance with the ball, whether it be just moving up the field or getting in the end zone. There was 2 TDs for Devonta Adams, one for Jay Sternberger, which was his first regular season touchdown in his career, and Malik Taylor's first touchdown as a Packer also. I just love seeing this ball all over the place. It was just so good to see. It felt like old school Aaron Rodgers hitting multiple targets, having lots of fun. Exactly what I want to see in a Packers game.
And some of those Devonta Adams catches were amazing. Not just the touchdowns, but just overall, it was magical. It's like they definitely rebounded from whatever the hell went on last week.
Totally. And some of those catches, you never know. You kind of study them, and you don't know whether or not to actually give Adams the credit or give Rodgers the credit for the throw. It's just because some of those throws are just insane, but what he does is incredible as well. There was one where he just did like a 360 turn to juke the defender, catch the ball, and go for. Oh, it was just so much fun to watch. Artistic is the best word I can come up with.
That's perfect. I was a little nervous going into the game, finding out that Aaron Jones was not going to be there. David Bakhtiari was ruled out, but everything worked out great, and our running game was on fire. Jamal Williams was a beast to watch yesterday, and rookie A.J. Dillon did get some more work in. Nothing too spectacular, but, he's getting into the groove. So running game. Awesome.
Yeah, Jamal Williams just really has been stepping up. We did miss Jones for sure, but I've been real happy with what he's been doing. He really looked like a starting running back yesterday. It was great. Our defense was looking pretty darn good most of the time as well. We had some definite timely sacks on Deshaun Watson and some other great pressure plays. Finally good to see that. I think we got something from some great plays from Zadarius Smith as well. Just really good to see the defense almost, I'm not going to say 100% on point, but the first half at least, they looked really, really good.
A definite improvement over last week. Tackling was done and, people hit the ground. So that was all good.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of off the field, it was great to see a fair amount of our friends from the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics group in attendance in Houston. Saw a few of them posting pictures of their seats at NRG Stadium. And even with the very limited number of fans that were allowed into the stadium, it's always good to know that some Packers faithful are able to get in there and watch the Packers play in person.
Absolutely. A little jealous. It's the weather's definitely a lot nicer down there than it is up here. We're already creeping closer and closer to the freezing temperatures, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Really? We're cold here as well. We didn't even get up past 59 today.
I don't want to hear about it. I do not want to hear about 59 degrees.
You would love a 59-degree day, right?
I would love a 59-degree day. I mean, I like it warmer anyway, so 59 is just barely sweatshirt weather, if that even. I probably don't even like a light sweatshirt. Well, we can't have a conversation without talking about some lowlights as well. The offense was having a few issues in the second half, and this kind of seems to be our MO this year, and it's concerning me a little bit. The defense just simply allowed too many second half touchdowns as well. It seems we're getting a bit comfortable with a comfortable lead, and I really don't like that. I'm not saying that I want us to. I mean, it would be fun to watch them, shut out a team or just beat them by 20 or 30 points. But I just sometimes I don't get it. It feels like maybe they're just laying down for safety's sake. They don't want to put the players at risk so that they last the rest of the season and just kind of like ride it out. But as a Packers fan, that just makes it very nerve-wracking to go into that.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I hadn't thought of the angle that possibly they're taking safety, into consideration. But I would like to see them just keep the pedal to the metal, not embarrass an opponent. Unless, of course, they're in our division, then please embarrass them. Maybe this week. We'll see. But that would be nice to see. A few new injuries from the game to keep an eye on. I haven't heard updates because they give those out later in the week. But Zadarius Smith, as well as Barnes, and even Raven Green, they all got banged up just a little bit. And I don't want us to become the walking wounded like we have in years past.
For sure. I mean, as long as they're rotating out here and there and we're not getting them all at once, not that I wish any injuries, obviously. We don't want anybody to be hurt, but it's better if we get them spaced out if they have to be there. Yeah,
and hopefully this week we can also get back Bakhtiari as well as Aaron Jones because it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be fun.
Could you imagine how formidable the Packers would be right now if everybody was healthy? I mean, look how well they're doing, and every week somebody key is missing. You get all those players back in there, and it would just be insane. So maybe their strategy of taking it a little bit easier in the second half makes sense. Maybe that's a strategy. It just I've seen those things go sour quickly in the past, and I do not want to be heartbroken after a big lead in the first half.
Yeah, especially how things went down in Tampa last week. We don't want that to happen again later on in just a couple of weeks when the team flies out to Frisco to play the 49ers, who all of a sudden are starting to win again. And we need all hands on deck for that one. But, of course, we have another game that we're going to tease later in this episode. We got to preview that puppy. But the listeners had some great things to say from this game as well. They gave us a call at our voicemail. Phone number is 920-3PACK-GO. You, too, can call 920-3PACK-GO right after we beat the Vikings this week, or from anywhere in the world. If it's easier for you, you can focus, gather your thoughts, record your message right on your phone or your laptop, and just attach it to an email and send it to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com.
As a reminder, the deadline to get your voice messages in is to be part of next week's episode is Sunday night at midnight Central. Again, 920-3PACK-GO. And as Wayne said, attach your recorded message to an email. Send it to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. Thanks for all the support and feedback. And as always, go Pack Go.
Hey, guys, what's going on? Just finished the Texans game. Michael here, calling from the great country of Texas. First-time caller, long-time listener of the podcast. Yeah, the guys look good today. Offense kind of stalled towards the end of the game, but yeah, it is what it is. I really think they could use another wide receiver, number 2. Maybe they can make a trade for somebody like Michael Gallup, who's on a losing team and on his last year of his contract. So maybe they can get some help that way. It'll be good to get Jones back hopefully next week. And, go Pack, go. Green and gold all the way, baby.
Michael, thank you so much for your call. Always good to hear from a first-time, long-time, especially from the great country of Texas.
The great country of Texas. That's awesome. Always love hearing from a first-time caller, long-time listener. I've always wanted to be able to say that on a program. First-time caller, long-time listener. I love hearing from that. Michael Gallup from the Cowboys. That could be interesting. I know we're hunting for some wide receivers, but there's been a lot of talk this week, I feel like, about looking at elsewhere. I know you were texting me earlier in the week, weren't you?
Well, it's hard to tell what direction they may go in. I know they're trying out people. And, of course, I guess Antonio Brown is he either has signed with the Buccaneers or is considering it, and we wouldn't want him in green and gold no matter how talented he is, in my opinion.
Right.
And you make a great point, Michael, how the team looked good, but the offense did stall out. And again, wondering if that's just taking safety into consideration. We'll have to wait and see. But thanks for your call. We hope to hear from you again next week.
Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go! Hey, guys, 5-1. Oh, first and foremost, before I forget, I don't know who the caller is that does the Packers poem, but I love them. Keep them coming. I enjoy them every week. All right, 5-1, not a lot to complain about, but a few things I hope we keep our eye on. The obvious one is ending games strong. Yes, it was a blowout, but, you know, it felt like they gave up 2 quick touchdowns, a little too easy, you know, a little not enough resistance. I get it was a blowout. The game is theoretically over, but it wasn't technically over. So, you know, play a full 60 minutes a game. Second thing, again, not complaining, but really to kind of keep an eye on. But in fact, we talked about it a lot last week. Getting the ball to Devonta Adams a lot. Yes, he is a favorable matchup most games, but it still feels like we're forcing it to him. I mean, he was very productive today. I think he had like 10 or 11 catches, a touchdown. I mean, he's really impossible to guard, but it does feel like we're more of a threat offensively when we spread the ball out. Another thing, and this was the first thing I kind of paid attention to, was I think I see why Rodgers gets hit a lot more. There was a play in the first quarter, maybe the second quarter, where he was running and he couldn't even really make it to the line of scrimmage. And I said, oh, okay, he's kind of lost that step to where he can outrun linemen, certainly cornerbacks and DBs. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Maybe that's why he gets rid of the ball a lot quicker. He realized he can't outrun as many people as he used to. Now, enough about the complaints. The great thing about the game is this is what we look for. Last week was a forgettable performance, but they followed it up with a great start, dominating from start to mostly finish. It was a really, really good performance. Aaron Rodgers looked sharp. They stuck with the running game a lot more. They also threw to the running back coming out the backfield a lot more. So I was very happy with that. The defense, a better job of tackling. I forget who said it last week that, hey, if you touch them behind the line of scrimmage and they get away from you, I'm not really impressed. Today, they grabbed them behind the line of scrimmage. They brought them down. Thank you for the much improvement. This is what I like to see. Green and gold till I'm dead and cold, and go, Pack, go! Love you guys.
Hey, we love you too, Andre. Thanks so much for the call. As always, look forward to hearing from you each week. The fan you were referring to is 1265 fan? Is that if they go by the name?
Yes, we didn't get the poetry this week, but maybe next week we hope to hear again from 1265 fan, and of course Andre in LA.
Yeah, I love how fans of us are giving each other shout outs on this podcast. It's just like a big happy family. It makes me happy. I don't know if I agree with Andre. I love you to death, man. Don't get me wrong, but about forcing the ball to Devonta, I felt like most of this game it was going all over the place. I mean, sure, he got 2 touchdowns and some of the clutch plays were by him, but that's why he gets a little bit more exposure than everybody else. I really felt this game was following the Packers' MO and spreading that ball out all over the place. I mean, Jace got one, Malik got one, and I don't know. We were so worried about him not having enough targets out there because we didn't get wide receivers in the draft, but he's still throwing it to all these names that, regularly, just different names. So
that's true, but he did throw a lot more to Devonta than anybody else. It's just in the touchdown battle, it was a little more even.
True, that's fair. Yeah, I guess if you're talking about like chewing up the yards, most of it went to Devonta. What do you have, like 170-something yards for the game?
It was a beautiful thing.
It was good. How do you feel about Rodgers getting him more? Do you agree with Andre that he's losing his step a little bit?
Yes, I thought that on that exact play, Andre, I was going, oh my goodness, normally he'd be able to get away from that. And I don't know if it's just the time of the season or, everybody gets a little older. But he needs to be a little more careful because I thought he was going to get away, but that other guy on the Texans was just a little too fast and brought him down. And it was frustrating, but happens to the best of them.
Absolutely. Good call on the better tackling. Yes. Troy loves to complain about the tackling. I remember that from back when I was a listener of the Packers Fan Podcast, and they did pick that up this week, so that was good to see. Hopefully that continues for the rest of the season because that is frustrating to watch those missed tackles for sure.
Yeah, especially when they just fly through the air. It's like just tackle.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thing? Fundamentals. Got to focus on the fundamentals.
Go, Dak, go! It's so fun. Pete and I are watching the game, and we were just talking about how awesome you are and how it's like really fun to be part of this podcast, everything. But Aaron's smiling. He deserves it. Devonta is the man. He has it all, and he definitely just missed that one pass right before the touchdown. And when you saw the replay, it's like I don't know if he was really like set up to actually catch it. I don't know if it's miscommunication or whatever it was, but either way, he comes back hot. Go, Ben, go! Woo! Dude, this is fun. No matter what happens, any game, loyalty is soil, always. By the way, this is Megan and Pete, my co-host.
Hey.
Hey, I know I called you earlier today and about Jonesy, and like it's unfortunate for everyone to see him being out, but like I think it's the most unfortunate for him. He wants to play, he wants to produce, he wants to like be a member of the team, and he's never not to be a member of the team. But we love you, Aaron, Jones, and Rodgers, and yeah, dude, I could go all day. And I'm gonna pass the phone to Pete. Here's Pete.
All I gotta say is it's harder to gauge who is smiling more today, Megan or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's like goals.
We're trying to like adopt some of like the energy from Andre in LA and like go, Tag, go! Go, Tag, go! Go, Tag, go!
Bring on the Vikings, baby. Part 2. Let's go.
Go, Pack, go indeed, Megan and Pete. Thank you so much for your call. Glad to have you being a part of the podcast as well. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers was doing a lot of smiling, and we could hear a lot of smiling in Megan's voice as well. So there's balance in the universe, Scott.
Absolutely. And I think Megan definitely has the most energy of any callers that we get on here for sure. I love the comment that Pete made about who's got the bigger smile, Megan or Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have to post a picture, Megan. We got to see. You're going to have to post a picture of the smile on game day in our group or something because we got to see it. Got to see who's got the bigger smile.
Well, hopefully by the time the Packers are up 21-0 on the Vikings, there'll be smiles for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And agreed. Very unfortunate having Aaron Jones on the sidelines, but I think he was definitely helping bring Jamal Williams on and motivate him to just be the best he could be that day, which was pretty dang awesome.
It was awesome.
Hey guys, it's Noah from Houston. Good game. I managed to go there at NRG Stadium. Pretty good seats. It was my first Packers game. It was pretty fun. But who had a good game? I think Preston Smith had a great game. JR had another great game. He's making a case for all-pro safety or cornerback, whatever he is. It was another great game. Guy had like 1 target and 0 receptions. Aaron Rodgers had a bounce-back game. And Jamal performed pretty well in the absence of Aaron Jones. I'm glad we rested him. It's the Texans. Wasn't a tough game, really. So it's good to get him healthy. Anyway, good work on the show, guys, and see you next week.
All right, Noah, thanks so much for the call. Now, did he say that was his first ever Packers game? Did I hear that correctly?
That's what it sounded like, Noah said. Going to NRG Stadium, finally getting to see the Pack. I love it.
That's awesome. It's unfortunate it wasn't, on the frozen tundra, but hey, you got to see him in person. That's really cool, man. Sounds like you had some pretty good seats. I agree with you. I am glad we rested Jones this week, but I'm looking forward to the formidable force that will be the Green Bay Packers once we get everybody healthy in the weeks to come. So for sure.
It's going to be fantastic. And especially this year with the pandemic and so many games where they're not letting any fans in. The fact that somebody can get to see the Packers live, even in a very limited situation, is gold.
That would actually be pretty cool. I mean, as much as I love going to Lambeau and being packed in there like sardines with other fans and just high-fiving strangers just because that's what you do, I don't know, having just that wide open space to just sit back and enjoy the game and not have to like squirm your way out to go get a beer or anything, that sounds amazing. That sounds really cool. I want to do it. We're going to move now on to our weekly poll in our Facebook group and PackersCommunity.com and on the old Twitter at Packers Fan Pod. And this week, I actually came up with this question, and I said, Packers fans, who did you think was the MVP of the Packers team against the Texans? Do you think it was AR-12, Devonta Adams, Jamal Williams, Zadarius Smith? Those were the 4 choices we gave you because of limitations on Twitter. But Facebook did allow some write-in votes, and we had one write-in vote for the Texans defense, which I thought was great. We had another write-in vote for Preston Smith, and then we had another write-in vote for the entire team. Wayne, where do you land on this one before we give the percentages on the votes here?
I am torn. I think I'm leaning toward the entire team, but if I had to pick an MVP, most valuable player, man, I mean, Devontae couldn't have done it without Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers may not have been able to have done what he did yesterday without Devonta Adams. I think I'll go with Devontae this week.
Yeah, some of those catches were just stunning. I talked about that earlier, like who do you give more credit to? This week, some of those catches were all Devonta Adams. So, yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you. And guess what? So did our community. They said 71%. 71% of the community said Devonta Adams. 21% said Aaron Rodgers. 6% Jamal Williams. And only 2% Zadarius Smith. My guess is that was probably Noah in Houston, considering he was a big fan as well. So, there you go.
There you go. And thanks for coming up with the question. I was drawing a blank this week. And Scott, you came in clutch. Took care of business. Also got a couple of emails. Wayne and Scott. Steven checking in from Powell's Park. We're the hometown team. Well, you know. And it's almost weird to have the Packers back at a noon start time, Sundays Central Time, since week number 2, when they had a Sunday night, and then they had a Monday night game, and then a bye week, and then a 3:25 Central last week. So it's kind of good, but kind of strange because we've been all over the map. And the really big news is that the Pack never trailed to the Texans in this game. That's huge. We don't like playing from behind.
Do we have any turnovers either?
I don't think we did.
That's, we had, like, last week was our bad week. We had everything happen last week, but now we're back on the train rolling, and I love it.
Yeah, it's good news. And especially since the Packers have never lost 2 games in a row under Matt LaFleur. That's something. So even in the occasion where we might get a loss, have less points than the other team when time runs out, it's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. Back to Steven. The Bears are now the only team in the division that have not gone on their bye week yet, and they don't go until week 11. Going to pause for a second. Scott, that's crazy that everybody in our division's already had their bye, and the Bears don't go until week 11.
That is weird. I mean, schedules are schedules, I guess, but it also doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe you can explain it to me, but why are the Bears in first place? I looked at the standings.
I saw that, and I think it's just because they've played one more game than us, but still only have one loss. I don't know. I think as we're recording right now, they're about to kick off against the Rams, and the Rams are going to take care of business, and then we'll be back in first place with no questions.
Well, because I was looking at the stats, we have more total points scored.
I know.
We have more intra-divisional wins, but the Bears have more conference wins, I think is what. So it makes me think that's what I always thought it was. I thought it was intra-divisional first before conference, but maybe I'm wrong. But, that whole thing is going to be thrown out the gate after the game tonight. So another 2 hours, it's not even going to matter. But it would have been nice to have those bragging rights going into work today with the Bears fans that are like, the Bears are in first place.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I went into work today and passed a coworker who's a Vikings fan. And she's just like, don't even say it. Don't even say it. And I'm like, what, Danae? I wasn't going to say go Pack go, and how about them 5-1 Green Bay Packers and the Vikings are 1-5? Wasn't going to say it. Back to Steven's email. Interesting with the behind the scenes stuff on the podcast, finding out that Wayne and Scott can see each other when they record the show.
Yeah, isn't that how everybody podcasts? I didn't know that was a thing anymore.
No, a lot of people just do the audio only even when they record, but we like having the video going kind of off to the side so that if somebody has to raise their hand or it's just facial expressions, things like that. Like
Wayne, just admit it. You think I'm really cute.
Or you like it when I do finger quotes in the air.
Finger quotes. Yeah, that's exactly it.
So yes, that's what we do. That's the magic behind the scenes of podcasting. Steven also says it's also interesting that Scott's wife made a cameo on the podcast 2 weeks ago when it came time for Scott to give his keys to a Packers victory.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were going to keep that in there. I'm glad you did because that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
Well, she came through pretty clear considering she was behind you and off the mic a bit. So
yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
It's a good mic.
And Steven does have a question for you, Scott. Will you be more nervous if you end up having to sing a Four Seasons song than you were on your wedding day?
Well, first off, I'm not nervous because I'm going to win this thing. I'm going to catch up, and so I'm not nervous about having to do it at all. But
wow,
I wasn't nervous on my wedding day, and I'm not nervous singing. So I'm not nervous at all. I'll have fun with it. I have no shame. If anybody has ever met me, you know I have no shame whatsoever. So it's going to be all fine.
Well, that gives me extra motivation to win this thing so that you don't have to have any shame about doing it. Oh, we got to pick these games correctly. That's for sure. Steven wraps up. Hey, Wayne, do you have any favorite breakfast foods to eat while watching the Packers game, either at home or when you go to a breakfast place like in past years? I guess that was before the pandemic. Since I'm on the West Coast where games start at 10 a.m. And generally, I actually have my breakfast like at 6:30 in the morning. But I usually have an early lunch, or sometimes if it's a restaurant that has breakfast food, then I'll get, breakfast items like a nice burrito or pancakes just because it's a treat. Hoping this pandemic ends and I can get back to that. But I guess there's only been one game this season where I haven't been able to watch the game at home. So far, so good. Steven signs off with Go Pack Go.
Awesome. We also got one from Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher from Titletown, USA, also known as Green Bay, Wisconsin. It says, hey, Wayne and Scott, what a great game we had against the Texans. Aaron Rodgers looked so good throwing the ball to so many receivers. I honestly think we should start using A.J. Dillon more often. I agree with you guys. I want to see him. Only 11 yards this week. Come on. Show us more. He goes on to say, but we must work on the secondary as well as the defensive line. We just can't wait for everyone to get back from injury. But no matter what, go Pack go and bleed green and gold till den and cold. Oh, and Butterburgers are the best as well as cheese curds. This podcast brought to you by Culver's.
Someday.
Someday we'll make it happen. We'll get paid to do that, but probably not. Anyway, from the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group and page, we had some comments as well. First off, it was noted that Randall Cobb was playing well in yesterday's game, and I got to tell you, there's a picture. If you've not seen it, I need to post it in the group if someone hasn't already. There's a shot of Rodgers, Cobb, and Adams all standing next to each other, just arms on each other's shoulders. What an awesome picture. I just absolutely love that. Rodgers had some great things to say about Cobb and what a great player he was. Something about how he's a guy that when he makes a mistake, he never makes the same mistake twice. And I just love that camaraderie is still there, even though they're on opposing teams, and the smiles are there. I love being a Packers fan so much. Jason also shared a cool ESPN story about AR-12's backups, talking about those inside stories about Aaron's supposed weirdness. I think we've all known Aaron is a little weird in terms of, look at what he does on interviews and the goofy stuff they do behind cameras and, just silliness, I probably would say, over weirdness, but maybe he knows a little more about weirdness than I do.
I guess you have to join the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group at packerscommunity.com and read that article or search for it for ESPN and Aaron Rodgers weirdness. I shared an article in the group from Fox 11 in Wisconsin about the COVID-related signage that's popping up all around Lambeau Field.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you don't want to get your hopes up because they're probably just for use in other areas of the stadium where public and staff can come in, like the restaurant, the pro shop and all that. Not necessarily for games, but Scott, we can dream, right?
We can dream that we can actually go to those games, and you can not fly out here and watch it with me. So yeah,
go. It'll happen. And of course, stop by Culver's, not a sponsor yet. And Jared said, so special teams needs some work for next week.
Special teams. We had a blocked punt, didn't we?
That was
what he's referring to?
A shocker. On most punts, I do try to look to see if somebody's about to block it, but I normally don't worry about that happening to the Packers, just on other teams. And, well, there was.
Yeah. Dictus also wrote in and said some frustrating stuff still, but this at least wasn't the heart attack pack. Do agree with that. Pretty confident there, and I think a lot of stuff on tape to learn from. Side note, this game pretty much made resigning Aaron Jones very difficult. Or, excuse me, not resigning, re-signing Aaron Jones very difficult. He will still want top 3 money. Packers are going to say, we got Williams. I think that may be a valid point. I think Williams has proven that he's good there. So thanks for all the comments there. You can join that Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community, be part of the conversation, and you can find links for it at packerscommunity.com, especially on game day for our live game discussion thread. That's always pretty lively, a lot of fun, and it's good to go back and forth about the games there.
And now we get ready because your 5-1 Green Bay Packers are finally coming back home to Lambeau Field this week to play the 1-5 Vikings coming off their bye week Sunday, November 1st at 12 noon Central. And remember that here in Northern America, we change our clocks this coming weekend, like Halloween. If any trick-or-treaters come, once they're done and you turn out the lights, then you change your clocks and set them back an hour. We get a whole nother hour of 2020. Yay. Nice. So when you're trying to coordinate, especially for our friends overseas, and you're trying to figure out how many hours difference it is from Central Time to, it's going to be all different. We'll get over it, but the Packers do play. And no surprise at all that the Packers lead the Vikings all time in the series, Scott.
Imagine that. You probably, every time the Packers lead the series, I got to pay closer enough attention to see if you ever do not put in the record in there. Because we have to be losing to somebody, right? We have to.
We'll see. We're leading the series 63-54 and 3 ties. And I wonder, will we see a repeat of the week 1 score of 43-34 when the Packers won? That would be nice, but not to let the Vikings get that many points again, but for us to get that many points.
I agree.
And now that it's November, the weather is finally starting to feel like autumn at Lambeau Field. It's going to be mostly cloudy, around 44 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff. That's 6.6 degrees Celsius. So if fans were allowed to go, they would need a jacket.
That is perfect football weather, man.
Amen.
Just slightly above freezing. That is great football weather, and it really makes me wish we could go to a game like that. But what are you going to do? 2020 sucks. Let's talk about the keys to a Packers victory at Lambeau Field. First off, be prepared for a rested Minnesota team. The Vikings had a bye during Week 7, which means they're going to have a full extra week of rest before facing off us in Green Bay. And although we are favored by 7 points, this is not the time to lay down or be overconfident.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
It's not the time to be overconfident?
I know where you're going with this, man. I know where you're going with this. I am not one for overconfidence.
Okay.
I've seen us get burned, but I know where you're going with this. Yeah. Don't get overconfident. Play a full game and make it happen. Secondly, power through all 4 quarters. This season, the Packers seem to be getting a tad comfortable with a decent lead, like I mentioned earlier, which always makes me a bit nervous. Now, assuming we score early like we have for most of the games this season, we got to keep that momentum going throughout the entire game. There's simply no room for a heartbreaking loss against an interdivisional rival with Chicago right there alongside us, hopefully on our heels after tonight's game, but we'll find that out in a few hours. And finally, attack through the air. The Vikings have one of the worst defenses in the league right now, especially against the pass. And I know we've been touting how much improved our running game has been this season, but this is a prime opportunity for Rodgers to hit as many of his targets as possible and just decimate the Vikings. Sure, mix it up on occasion with an occasional run for good measure, but the majority of our plays should be made through the air. That is my opinion, and those are my keys to a Packers victory over the Vikings.
As always, thank you so much, Scott. Those are excellent keys to a victory. I could see those things happening. Like we couldn't really see how the score was going to happen against the Buccaneers, so, you know. And since the Packers did lose, we do not get any credit either one of us for our picks on that one.
Right.
And this past week, it was Packers 35, Texans 20, which, like you alluded to earlier, Troy was pretty dang close with his Packers 33, Texans 21. But he's not part of this Wager O Fun, Scott.
No, he's not. So I still was able to pull out a W this week. My score of 28-17 Packers was a differential of 10. Your score of 24-18 was a differential of 13, which means my number was lower. So I am one step closer, and the score is now 3-2. So I'm within one game. So I'm like the Chicago Bears. I am right on your heels, Wayne.
Oh my! Well, let's change that this week with the Vikings coming to Lambeau. I see the Packers winning this one. Surprise, surprise! 36-17. It's going to be a huge blowout.
Oh, man. Now you're making me... I think it's going to be a blowout as well. I said 35, but I also said Vikings 21. I think that they proved in week one that they do have a decent offense. Kirk Cousins isn't the formidable guy that we all thought he was going to be, or at least the analysts thought he was going to be this season. But I think their biggest weakness is their defense this season. They still got enough points to get at least 3 big scores on the board. So 35-21.
Oh, my. Time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the NFC North, the Packers are 5-1. The Bears are currently 5-1, but in about 5 minutes, they're kicking off to get beaten up by the Rams in L.A., so that'll change soon. The Lions are surprisingly 3-3, and the Vikings are 1-5. Just some other NFL chatter around the league that caught my eye. You know, although the Cowboys are not very good, I was still stunned to see them get obliterated by the Washington football team.
What was the final score?
I don't know. It was like 75-3. No, it was ridiculous. I don't know of very many people that picked the Washington team, whatever they're called, to win that game. And by the way, I read that Washington has selected their name for next season.
Have they announced it, or they just announced that they know what it is?
No, they announced what their name's going to be next season. It's going to be the Washington football team. I'm like, really? Really? You've had all this time, and that's what we're going to go with for a whole nother season? Oh, my.
That's, wow. Like, why even make the announcement?
Just so the suspense is over.
That's crazy. Also, I don't know if you saw in that game, but, Dak Prescott was out last week. Broke his ankle. Was that last week or the week before? I think it was the week before,
Week before, but still, they're dropping quarterbacks like flies.
Yeah, now Andy Dalton suffered a concussion. The Cowboys just can't catch a break between this week and 2 weeks ago. It's just, you almost feel sorry for them. I tend to feel a little more sorry for them because McCarthy's over there now, but, otherwise I wouldn't feel too bad.
Exactly. But I do feel bad for Andy Dalton because that hit was horrible. It was ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, about took his head off of his body. And now I don't have any idea what the Cowboys are going to do at quarterback, but the Dolphins, for no reason at all, really, benched Fitzpatrick, so maybe he's available. And he could find another team to play with that can beat the Jaguars, because he's beaten the Jaguars with 6 different teams. Why not make it 7, Fitzpatrick?
Right.
And as we get closer to the playoffs, having the Cardinals beat the Seahawks late last night in overtime was absolutely huge.
That was awesome, too. I don't know about you, man, but that was one of the most entertaining fourth quarters of football I've watched on a Sunday night in a long time. That felt like a playoff game. It felt like you were watching postseason stuff. It was so back and forth and missed field goal and it was great. Like those are the games that you watch football for. And I was glad I stayed up to watch the finale of that one for sure.
Yeah, because that was a pretty late game, even without the overtime, but it went on for quite a while. And Chris Collinsworth made an interesting point during the game, because this season, both the NFC and the AFC each have an extra team going into the playoffs. Depending on how things work out, it's possible that all 4 teams in the NFC West could go into the playoffs. 1 is a division winner and 3 wild card teams. That would be bonkers.
Would that be a first?
If nothing else, if the NFC East does not get their stuff together, they should just be banished from the playoffs, because If they're going to win the division with 6 or 7 wins, it's, oh, wow.
Not going to stand a chance.
Oh, I've got another question for you, Scott. I hear that you like to play video games a lot. So
I do.
Do you have a suggestion for anybody who might love playing video games as much as you do?
It's funny you mention that, Wayne. I absolutely do. I've got another podcast called The Gaming Outsider, where we chat about my favorite hobby pretty much every week. And on our upcoming episode, we're preparing for the Halloween season by sharing some of our favorite horror video games and why we love putting ourselves in those stressful atmospheres at this time of year. If you'd like to check it out, you can listen to our podcast called The Gaming Outsider, the same place you listen to this very show, or you can go to our website, which is thegamingoutsider.com. Also, I am still selling and making masks, for COVID-19 protection, and they are available on our website, including handmade Packers Fan Podcast masks. They're green with a yellow logo on it. And Wayne, you can attest, they are very comfortable, yes?
They are very comfortable, and I love wearing it when I pull up to the drive-thru to get my lunch or my dinner, and they open up the window, and they're like, okay, that'll be $9.89 or whatever, but they it's always interesting when somebody notices, hey, it's a custom mask. That's different.
Nice. That's cool, man. But we have those for sale available for you at thegamingoutsider.com/thegocast. We've also got several video game themed ones, all handmade by me personally. I made about, 500 of them this summer, and we've got a lot available for sale. Please check it out, and it helps support our podcast over there as well.
And earlier in this episode, we were trying to pick the Packers MVP for the game against the Texans, and it could have been almost everybody. And everybody else that listens to the podcast has a chance to be an MVP of the Packers Fan Podcast. We've got the value for value model. You can support us on Patreon if it's in your budget to do so. And anything that you do pledge towards the podcast and becoming an MVP does help make the show better for you. The hosting, the audio editing software, all kinds of stuff. If you've ever done a podcast, there's so many moving wheels, and we appreciate
podcast hosting salaries. Oh, wait, that doesn't exist. Never mind.
With enough support, who knows? The sky's the limit. We want to send out huge thank yous to Bryant for all of your great Willie Wood $24 level Patreon support of the podcast. Blows us away. And we're humble, and we say thank you and go Pack Go. Also, to the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics, some of which went to the game in person. I'm so jealous. They are all awesome, and their $12 a month Patreon support gives them the ability to do the sign-off at the end of the show each week, and you can do it too. Just saying.
Also, we've got several that are contributing at the $4 Brett Favre-inspired monthly Patreon support. So for more Go Pack Goes, go out to Lawrence Harvey and Jeff Summerfield. Also, Curly Lambeau has his Go Pack Go shoutouts as well at the $1 level podcast support. So special thanks to Remy Lavictoire, Matt Haig, Joe Christensen, Beth Mentink, and Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts. You too can financially support the podcast at a level to match your budget and also get some cool Packers Fan Podcast logo merch. Details can be found at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. Thanks so much, everybody, and go Pack Go.
And speaking of Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts, The Mandalorian returns for season 2 in just a couple of days on Disney Plus. And yes. Hank's Mandalorian podcast is getting ready to blast back off, so to speak.
And there is a Mandalorian digital pinball table coming to Pinball FX later this week that I'm very, very excited about too. This is how good this game looks. I showed it to Wayne, and he thought it was a real pinball table. That was adorable. That was adorable, man.
My first assumption when pinball machine is being produced is a physical pinball machine.
No, I'm telling you, man, we got to get you into digital pinball. I think you'd like it.
I know, especially with the pandemic and whatever, because my place that I go to play pinball occasionally, they don't even know if and when they're going to be able to open. It's very sad. It's very frustrating. Yeah. But I'll have to keep my eyes out because everybody loves The Mandalorian, or most everybody. So we're going to wrap up for now and remind you that the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. And remember to have our voicemail feedback hotline number ready to go. Program it into your phone. It's 920-3-PACK-GO, 920-3-PACK-GO. call us. As soon as we beat down the Vikings, we want to hear your thoughts because they're purple and we love to beat them.
Also, you've heard of Twitter, right? We
Yeah.
are on there as well for you. We are at Packers Fan Pod, also at GoCastScott. That's my personal Twitter handle. And Wayne's personal Twitter handle is at Wayne Henderson. Please tell your friends, whether you see them in person or mostly online, to please give a listen to your Packers Fan Podcast. And now, thanks to our generous $12 Patreon support, it's the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack, go!